Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm trying not to laugh. Good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday, November the 17th, 2020. It is currently 12:06 p.m. Central Time. I'm sorry. I was live on the air just a few minutes ago, and I was sitting here talking, and I was making all these points, and then I realized my microphone wasn't on. So I had been sitting there talking, thinking that I was really communicating with you, really driving, I was really driving home some important points, and realized I'm not even live on the air. My microphone is not on. So I had to stop that live broadcast. Then I had to go delete it from being uploaded to everywhere. Once I got that done, then I came back to go live again. And right when I hit the big red go live button, I started laughing because I felt so foolish. Like, you go live and you're not even actually live. You're just talking and your microphone is completely turned off. So it's not even recording it because all it's recording is silence. So what you talk about something that was vain and meaningless, vanity of vanities. That was vanity. That was meaningless because I was talking to no one. The microphone wasn't recording. Nobody's in this building. I was here by myself talking to myself. But trust me, it was really, really good stuff. It was really, really good stuff. The fact that you missed it, your life is never going to be what it should be. You're never going to truly have contentment and peace because you missed out on the brilliance that I was speaking just a little while ago, and my microphone wasn't on to capture it. So here I am again. Welcome. Good afternoon. It is. Did I even tell you the day? Did I do anything correct in my introduction there? Welcome, everyone. It is Tuesday, November the 17th, 2020. It is now 12:08 p.m. Central Time, and it's time for my devotional study. It's that time of day where I do my afternoon devotional study. I was getting ready to pack everything up and go back home because I came out here really to do one live broadcast, and I accomplished that. And then I was like, you know what? If I go home, I'm not going to do my devotional study. I'm going to go get food. And then while I'm eating, I'm going to watch something. Then I'm going to probably listen to some music, and I'm going to do some reading. And I've got these other things I'm going to do. And I won't be doing my devotional study. So if I'm going to do it, I better take the opportunity to do it right now. And I'm going to invite you to come on into Victory Baptist Church. Hey, thanks for showing up. I don't know how you found the church since we're in the middle of nowhere. I don't think GPS will even get someone here. All right. But thank you. Come on in, and you can walk back here, have a seat. You can sit there in the pews. I can walk up to the pulpit and do the devotional study. But we're going to sit down this afternoon and have a little time of Bible study. Now, if you have been listening to previous episodes, you know that I've started something, kind of the study of what I am calling the 10 Commandments of James chapter 4. All right, I identified these 10 imperatives starting in James chapter 4. Where are my glasses here? James chapter 4, verse 6, I believe is where it starts. Wow, now that's an interesting sound. I don't know if you hear that. That's sirens. When you hear sirens and you're in the middle of nowhere, you're like, what that, it really stands out, right? It's when you're in the middle of nowhere and you hear sirens, you're like, what is going? The only one out here is me. Who are they coming for? So they went flying by. So that's probably a horrible sign that there was a tragedy. There's been a traffic accident somewhere that's pretty bad. So, let's just pray really quick. Lord, we ask that. Whatever is happening, if it is a traffic accident, that Lord, we ask that you protect them, allow the first responders to get there quickly, and we just ask that your will be done. Bring peace, bring comfort, bring healing, and we just hand the entire situation over to you, whatever it may be. We ask this in Jesus' name, Amen. That's something I'm not very good at doing. A lot of times I'll see sirens and I'm like, ooh, I wonder what's going on, and I don't pray. Sometimes I do remember, so. But yeah, we can pray for whatever is going on. Now, what I was saying before that occurred, but that's not. See, I always try to be very honest with you. See, there was a part of me right there that got frustrated by that irritation. See, that's what I almost did. See, and more sirens. Wow, there's something definitely going on. All right. So I'm gonna be very transparent with you here. I'm gonna be very transparent here. This may be more important than the study. See, what I stopped and prayed, right? And then I stopped and this is what I was going on inside of me. I was like, okay, that was a good thing to do. That was the right thing to do. And then there was another part of me that was like, well, that's irritating. That just messed up the whole flow of my introduction. That's irritating. And then I was thinking, should I just stop and then delete this and then start over? Wait, when I get done with this, am I going to actually upload this? Like, I was more worried. I became more worried about how this was going to make this episode come across than I was about whatever is happening that the first responders are responding to with sirens, lights, and I mean, they just went flying by the church, probably doing 100 miles per hour. Like I was more worried about my podcast than actually something possibly going on and impacting people's actual lives. In other words, I was more irritated by how the situation may have messed up my podcast episode than I was about, even though I came across being all spiritual. See, I prayed about it. So I come across all spiritual, right? I come across all godly. Ooh, he stopped and prayed. What a godly. No, I wasn't godly, because as soon as I did that, there was a thought in the back of my brain going, oh, hey, you know what? I think that just kind of messed up the introduction of my podcast. See how ungodly, that's what we have to do as Christians. We have to be willing to acknowledge those kinds of things. Like we're so good at putting on a front. Like, I came across all spiritual there, but it was all fraud, even though I didn't mean it to be a fraud. I really, at that second, I did really want to pray for the person, but immediately I forgot about the person who supposedly we prayed for, persons, whatever the situation may be. And I immediately focused on, that messed up my podcast episode. That messed up my introduction. I may not even post this now. I may stop and delete it. Like, how ungodly can I be? Like, I came across this as godly, but the reality is there was something going on inside of me that was ungodly. As Christians, we have to be willing to see those inner motivations, those inner things that are going on that nobody else can see. Nobody else can see them because we cover them up in a robe of fake righteousness. I'm good at covering it all up in a robe of fake righteousness. I'm so good at it, right? Because the longer you're a Christian, you know what you're supposed to say. You know what you're supposed to do. But sometimes that doesn't come close to demonstrating the actual reality. I did a podcast episode on Christianity as performance art right there, and it wasn't intended to be performance art. As soon as I saw the sirens, a part of me was like, oh, I hope everyone's okay. There was a genuineness there. That was a genuine prayer that, God, we hand this situation over to you. That was genuine. But immediately after the genuine action, there was a part of me inside that my motivation and my thoughts went completely opposite to the genuineness of my godliness. That's the thing. No matter how genuinely godly we are, at, say, 12, what time is it? Let me make sure I state this correctly. No matter how godly we may be at 12:14 p.m., by 12:15 p.m., we may actually then do something that completely contradicts the godly thing that we did at 12:14 p.m. Whatever time it was when I prayed, then seconds after, there was a motivation and a desire and a thought that came in my mind that wasn't godly because I became more worried about me. Okay, people are hurt. I prayed for them, but man, did that not mess up my podcast episode? Now I've got to possibly just delete this and forget about it because I don't want to put something on there that's embarrassing like that. You see how ungodly that is? See, the things I want to do, I don't do, and the things I don't want to do, I do. Woe is me. I'm a man of ungodly lips, ungodly thoughts, ungodly motivations. And look, you can sit there and think that you're better, and maybe you are, but I guarantee you've got the same problem inside of you. All right, now, I say all of that. And now I'll get back. See, now I'm frustrated because now I messed this up. But I think that point is valid. But let's turn back to what I want to get to in this episode. Yes, this is my devotional time. And if I'm having devotional time, thinking about things like I just did, that's part of your devotional time, really looking at what's going on in your life spiritually. That's the point of a devotional time, is you before God being open and honest, not fake, not fraudulent, being open and honest. So I had to be open and honest there. And it does kind of fit with what I'm trying to do here. I don't know what day it was. November the 13th maybe was the first episode. I started looking at what I'm calling the 10 Commandments of James chapter 4. In James chapter 4, starting in verse 6, James chapter 4, starting in verse 6, down to verse 11, James 4, 6 through 11. James 4, 6 through 11, I find 10 imperatives. 10 imperatives. I'm calling them these the 10 Commandments of James chapter 4. And the reason I decided to really focus in on these 10 imperatives was because I believe right now there's so much confusion and chaos in the world. And if you listen to my last live broadcast, I think there's a war right now. We're in a post-Christian era that's attacked truth, and it's even attacking reality itself. And these commandments help us get back to here's what's real, here's what's true, here's what we need to cling to. Now, we don't hold to these commandments in hopes of it saving us, because we're not saved by commandments. We're saved by the grace and mercy of God, obviously in the finished work of Jesus Christ. But these commandments give us something to hold on to, so that we have a foundation to stand on, till we know how to live and what not to do and what to strive for and how to live our lives. And the first commandment is found in James chapter 4, verse 6. We spent a lot of time on it. James 4, 6 is submit yourselves therefore to God. Submit yourselves therefore to God. Submit yourselves therefore to God. And let me just remind you, because I think this is beneficial, just remind you that word submit. Let's go back to that word submit. Let me remind you of the Greek word there, all right? Let me remind you of the Greek word. It is this.
Strong's G 5293. Hupotasso. Hupotasso.
Hupotasso is the Greek word translated submit there in James 4:6. And it's a very important word, because to submit to God means to arrange under, to arrange. We arrange all of our life, our thoughts, our worldview, our feelings, everything. We arrange it under God. We submit it to God. And we constantly strive to do it, because you witnessed it. Like I tried to arrange and submit everything to God. All right. There was something that happened. Okay. If I arrange everything under God, I should stop and pray for whatever is going on, whatever these first responders are responding to. I should pray. Right? But immediately there were emotions and feelings and thoughts that were not under God. In other words, immediately I had to stop and take those thoughts and emotions captive and go, all right, I need to arrange them and submit them to God. So the first commandment is to submit to God, which we need more than ever right now. We need to submit our thinking to God, so that we're thinking right thoughts. We need to submit under God, so that we pursue truth. We need to submit to God so that we pursue truth and what is actual, what reality actually is, and we don't create a fake reality. We need to submit ourselves to God. So that first commandment is so important. But the second one, the one we come to today, commandment number 2. So we have submit. The next one we come to is found in James chapter 4, verse 6 as well. James chapter 4, verse 6. So we submit ourselves to God. And I think it's so important. Everything begins with our submission to God. But after we submit ourselves to God, then the second commandment, resist the devil and he will flee from you. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. So we got to get these in order. We submit first. So as we arrange everything under God's authority and God's control, then after we've done that, we have to resist the devil. We have to resist Satan. Christians believe that there is an actual evil entity, Satan, this fallen angel. We actually believe he exists and he's at work, and we must resist him. Now, when we say resist him, make sure we understand Satan is not omnipresent. So Satan may never actually be near you or present around you, but you are still resisting him, because Satan uses the world system to tempt you, to come at you. So there's lots of different ways Satan is coming at you, even though it's not Satan himself that you are, in other words, he's not present, but you're resisting the devil and the things that he is utilizing in order to corrupt you and turn you from the things of God. Does that make sense? He uses the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life. He uses this world system to pull us away from God, to distract us from God. But we are to resist the devil. We are to submit to God. Listen, resisting the devil without submitting to God is a futile endeavor, right? Submit first, then resist to God, then resist the devil. Submit to God, don't resist God. Submit to God, and then resist the devil. Now, what does it mean to resist? Well, let's look up that Greek word. Let's look up the word resist here. I'm using the Blue Letter Bible app. You can download it for free. Let's go to resist. It is this Greek word.
Strong's G 436, anthistemi. Anthistemi.
Anthistemi. Anthistemi. Anthistemi, I think, is how I probably did it in Greek class and probably mispronounced it. Anthistemi. Anthistemi. I'm not always good at pronouncing Greek. I'm not good at pronouncing English words, much less Greek words. Anthistemi. All right. Now, what does that mean? Anthistemi means to set oneself against, to withstand, to resist, to oppose, to set against. So submit means we arrange everything. We arrange everything under God's authority. That means to submit to God. We arrange, okay? We, in a sense, set ourselves under God. But to resist means to set ourselves against, to withstand. And we got to make sure we do the resisting the correct. We have a tendency, I know it was just a slip of the tongue, but there's a truth to it. We have a tendency to resist God, right? We resist God and submit to ourselves. No, we need to submit, arrange everything under God's control, and then we need to set ourselves against and withstand and oppose the devil. All right? The Greek word anthistemi is used 14 times. 9 times it's translated resist. 5 times it's translated withstand. The Strong's definition of anthistemi is to stand against, oppose, resist, withstand. The basic idea we've already given. Now, it's used 14 times. 14 times. I would really challenge you to look up all the places it occurs, all places where anthistemi occurs, where this Greek word is used. To resist. We must, now I want to make sure we draw the contrast here. To submit means to arrange everything under the authority of. So we arrange everything under the authority of God. Our thoughts, our will, our wants, our desires. To resist Satan means we resist his will. We resist his desire. We resist his plans. Now we've submitted all of ours to God. So now we stand in opposition to what Satan's morality, Satan's idea of truth is, Satan's lies. We stand against all of that, but we can only stand against it because we've arranged everything under the authority of God. Satan comes with everything that's in opposition to God. His ways are in opposition to God's ways, so we must stand against his ways. His thoughts are against God's thoughts. We must stand against his thoughts. His desires, his version of truth and reality is opposed to God. So we can't resist until we first submit to God, because God gives us what truth is, what reality is, right? This very much goes with what I did in my last live broadcast. We must stand against it. So here's what I want to, let's just do this together, all right? I'm not going to go through all of them, but let's go through how this word anthistemi is used, all right? Anthistemi is used, the first place it's used in Matthew 5:39. Matthew 5:39, we read there, "But I say unto you that you resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also." Now I want you to hear this. So we must resist Satan. And one of the ways we resist Satan is that we do not resist evil. Now, what does that mean? In other words, evil done against us. When someone smites thee on the right cheek, we turn and offer the left. We don't strike out in vengeance. We don't, in a sense, try to retaliate. We don't do that. Why? Because we submit ourselves to God. To submit to God, right? We don't resist the evil done against us. We accept it, right? We don't fight against it. We accept it. I know this goes against everything in your human nature, but see, to resist Satan would want you to strike back. Satan would say, take vengeance. Don't give any quarter. Don't give any mercy. Don't give any grace. Cut off the ear. Grab the sword. Fight back. Punch back. Kick back. If they say bad things about you, say bad things about them. If they're gossiping and slandering you, you get out there and gossip and slander them. See, these two work together. If I don't submit to God, if I'm not submitted to God, then why would I resist? Why would I follow the command that we're told here in Matthew 5:39? Jesus is speaking. When he tells me not to resist not evil, why would I do that? Have to arrange everything under God's authority. God's authority tells me not to resist evil. So I'm submitting myself to God, and I resist Satan by following this. Satan would want me to fight, to strike, to kill, to bring down. And Jesus says, no, resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. Don't resist. That goes against everything inside of me. Now, again, I can't follow this. I can't resist what Satan would want for me. Satan would want a completely different response. I can't do that unless I'm submitted to God. Do you see how I'm trying to draw the way these two are connected? Luke 21:15. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. All right? So they won't be able to resist that, okay? That's not super helpful. Acts 6:10, and they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit which he spake. That's interesting. Luke 21:15, maybe giving a promise that was somehow fulfilled in Acts 6:10. That could be an interesting study. Let's see here. I'm just looking at some of these. Romans 13:2. Romans 13:2. I'm not going through every one. I want you to look them all up. But Romans 13:2. This is such a powerful. This is such a controversial verse right now. Romans 13:2 and Romans 13:1. We are told that we're to submit ourselves to God, or to submit ourselves to earthly authority. And the reason we submit ourselves to earthly authority is because we've submitted ourselves to God. We arrange everything under the authority of God, and guess what? The authority he appoints, we submit to because it's from God. In Romans 13, we're told to submit ourselves to earthly authority because we're submitting ourselves to God. And look what it says in Romans 13:2. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. See, it's really weird. Like in many cases, the way you resist the devil is by not resisting. In other words, hey, how do I resist the devil? By not resisting evil. Because I submit myself to God. How do I resist the devil? By not resisting earthly authority because I'm submitted to God. It's really weird. Like in some ways, the way I resist the devil is by not resisting. And this is a concept that I've never thought about. I think the reason why is one of the things Satan wants you to do. Satan wants you to elevate yourself. Satan wants you to exalt yourself. Satan wants you to say, it's all about you. Satan, I. The very essence of sin is I. That's the essence of it. It's selfishness. So Satan comes along and says, hey, you see what that person did to you? Get him. Retaliate. Take vengeance. Strike down. Don't be passive. Don't be a walking mat for anyone. You got to stand up for yourself. No one else is going to stand up for you. So the way do I resist Satan is by not resisting that evil, by turning the other cheek. Well, how can I do that? I got to submit to God. How can I resist Satan? To resist Satan means that I don't resist the commandments and the orders of earthly authority. I submit to it. If I resist that earthly authority, I'm ultimately fighting against God. So if I submit to God, then I will submit to earthly authority. Satan would say, don't submit to earthly authority. The authority you should submit to, no one. You stand up. You fight. They can't tell you what to do. Who do they think they are? They're trying to get you to disobey God. Well, God tells me to submit to earthly authority because there's no earthly authority that wasn't appointed by God. So by resisting them, I'm actually resisting God. So in a sense, in two examples, the way I resist Satan is by not resisting authority and evil against me. Even when that earthly authority goes against me, I don't resist it because I'm submitting myself to God. This is an interesting concept that I've never thought about before. I don't know exactly how to flesh it out. I'm just kind of throwing it out there. We resist Satan by not resisting those things that come against us because we've submitted ourselves to God. You see why submitting to God comes first. I don't have many different ways I can state it. I feel like the point, this is one of the situations I feel like the point is far greater and significant than my ability to explain it. But hopefully you'll start meditating on this. Let's see if this idea carries itself any further. All right. That's Romans 13:2. All right. Galatians 2:11. But when Peter was come to Antioch, this is Paul speaking, I withstood him, same Greek word, anthistemi, to the face because he was to be blamed. So here is Paul standing against Peter, standing against what he was doing, standing against his ideas. And we, if we're going to resist Satan, we have to stand against his ideas and his way. And sometimes the way we resist Satan is by not resisting the things that our flesh tells us to resist. Ephesians 6:13. Now this is very good. Ephesians 6:13. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, having done all to stand. The way you withstand in the evil day, and in fact, let me go back to the Greek word. I want to make sure we say the right word again. Make sure we say it the correct way.
Strong's G 436, anthistemi. Anthistemi.
Anthistemi. I keep saying anthistemi. Anthistemi. I knew I was saying it wrong. Anthistemi. The way we resist, the way we stand. Remember, one of the ways we resist is by not resisting, right? There are things we don't resist. If we're going to resist Satan, then there's things we don't resist. We don't resist the evil done to us. We don't retaliate. We don't strike down. And we don't resist earthly authority. We submit to it. Why? Because we submit to God. And Satan wants us to do those things, so we resist his way of doing things. Anthistemi, we stand against it. Another thing, Galatians 2:11, we withstand his ideas and his actions. But here's another one. How do we withstand? How do we resist Satan? By taking on the whole armor of God. Taking on the whole armor of God. Now, taking on the whole armor of God really fits with submitting to God, right? Because we arrange everything under the authority of God. When we're taking on the armor of God, we are covering different aspects, helmet, breastplate. We are taking the authority of God and placing the authority of God over those areas of our life, our mind, whatever the case may be. We're taking up his sword, his word. So the way we're going to resist the devil is by taking on the armor of God, and taking on the armor of God is, in a sense, arranging and submitting ourselves to the authority of God. All right. I think that's interesting. All right. Okay. Yeah. And then James 4:7. All right. There's a couple of more here. I'm going to let you look up the rest to really see what other directions you want to go. So let's try to wrap this up this way. All right, let's try to we get this. So the first commandment is that we must submit ourselves to God. We must submit ourselves to God. The second commandment is we must resist the devil. All right, we must resist the devil. And the word resist there, let me go back to it one more time. The word resist there, let's go back to it. I want to make sure you hear it again because I've mispronounced it too many times here, is
Strong's G 436, anthistemi. Anthistemi.
Is anthistemi, all right? Anthistemi. And anthistemi gives us the idea to set oneself against, to withstand, to resist, to oppose, to set against. And we ask ourselves, how do we resist Satan? How do we resist Satan? Here's the first, and you may want to write these down. The first way that you and I are to resist Satan is by not resisting. And I know that sounds weird, but the way I resist Satan is by not resisting two things. I don't resist the evil done against me. In other words, I don't fight. I don't strike down. I don't use vengeance. I don't retaliate. I don't do that. I don't retaliate. I don't do that. Right? If I do that very thing, retaliation goes against submitting myself to God. If I submit myself to God, I will not resist the evil done against me. I will turn the other cheek. that goes against everything in my nature. But by doing that, I'm resisting Satan, because Satan will say, stand up and fight. Right? Another thing that I will not resist is earthly authority, because earthly authority is appointed by God. Resisting that authority, I'm ultimately resisting God's authority. So how do I resist Satan? Satan will tell me to stand up and fight and rebel when God would tell me to submit. So if I'm submissive to God, then I will submit to the earthly authority appointed over me, right? Spiritual, or all the different types of authority. Satan would say, no, fight, rebel, stand against it. So I resist Satan by not resisting. All right. A second thing. So the first way is I resist by not resisting. The second thing is I resist Satan by standing against his words and his actions, just as Paul withstood and resisted Peter. Right. The word again. The Greek word again, anthestemi, that the way I stay true to that word is by taking a stand against Satan's words and actions, just as Paul withstood Peter. Another thing that I resist Satan by putting on the whole armor of God. And putting on the whole armor of God is taking all of me, mind, words, all of me, and arranging it under God's authority. When I cover me and God's authority, then I resist Satan, because I'm submitting myself to God's authority. The two are forever linked together. All right, I'll stop right there. There's a lot we talked about in that 31-minute devotional study today, but wow, there's some things we should really think about, and I hope you'll be a part of the conversation. When I do these devotional studies, I do them in a way that I don't want you to just listen to me. I want you to participate. So start emailing me, newsif@yahoo.com, 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 newsif@yahoo.com. That's newsif@yahoo.com. There you go. Now, you know what I'm doing right now? Because we're trying to be honest in our devotional study. You know what I'm doing? I'm more, I guess this is see how unspiritual I am. I'm not sitting here right now meditating on the powerful truths that we just uncovered about what it means to resist Satan. Those are some very powerful points that I really need to think about. And when I get ready to get in my car and drive home, I need to see how I can put those into practice today. You know what I'm more worried about? What do you think? What do you think I'm more worried about? What do you think I'm more preoccupied with right now? I'm more preoccupied with the fact that I completely was stating
Strong's G 436, anthistemi.
I was not saying anthistemi the correct way. I was saying anthistemi, or however I was saying it. I was not saying anthistemi the correct way. That's what I'm bothered about. See, I just spent some time in devotional study learning some very important things about what it means to resist Satan, and how that sometimes resisting is by not resisting. Sometimes resisting is taking a stand against his words and actions, and that resisting means putting on the full armor of God, and putting on the full armor of God means covering myself in God's ultimate authority in different aspects of my life, whether it's my emotions or my thoughts, whatever the case may be. And that's what I need to figure out. That's what I need to be meditating on. That's what my mind needs to be consumed with. My mind needs to be consumed with that as I get back in my car and drive home. I need to be meditating on that so that when I get home, I put that into practice. But guess what? I'm going to do. I'm going to get in the car and go, man, antithesis. I'm going to say the word incorrectly. I said that word incorrectly. I completely messed up that Greek word. And so now I look foolish. Now I look stupid. Now I look like I'm ignorant. See, I'm more preoccupied with that. You know, I'm more worried about anthistemi. I didn't say it right. Anthistemi. I didn't say it correctly. I said antithemi. I said it all kinds of different ways. Right now I'm just messing it up on purpose. But you get the idea. That's what I'm gonna be worried about that. See, I'm telling you this for a reason, right? I didn't. Listen, I don't want you to think I formulated this so that I can make this very big spiritual point at the end. I did not. I literally messed up. And I'm really being honest with you. I'm bothered by that. And I shouldn't be bothered by that. I should be thinking, man, I need to figure out, am I truly resisting Satan in the correct way? Do I truly have a correct understanding? Am I truly submitted to God? I need to be worried about, am I submitted to God or resisted? But guess what I'm worried about? I'm worried about what people on the internet may think about me because I mispronounced a Greek word. And they're going to think I'm foolish and they're going to think I'm stupid. So I'm more worried about how I will be perceived. But I shouldn't be worried about how I'll be perceived. I should be worried about, do I truly understand and am I truly practicing submission to God and resisting the devil? And the reality is I'm not truly submissive to God at times, and I'm not truly resisting the devil at times, because guess what? I'm not resisting the devil, because instead of just accepting the fact that I said something foolish and I may appear foolish on the internet, I should just accept that, embrace that I may look like a foolish, that I may look stupid, and embrace that, because the spiritual truths I just talked about are more important than me. But see, I've taken an opportunity to make it about me, which is literally falls into hands of Satan. So I'm literally not resisting Satan while I'm telling you how to resist Satan. You see why we have to be saved by grace alone? If we were saved at all by our efforts, if you hope to maintain your salvation by your efforts, you're never going to be saved, because you see how corrupt we are, all the way, how that corruption can show up in ways that nobody else could see. So you don't have to know all of this, but I'm telling you this because I want you to look at your own life to see. That's what submitting yourself to God really means. It means going, okay, I got to take my thoughts and my feelings captive and bring them under the submission of God. So we'll end one more time.
Strong's G 436. Anthistemi. Anthistemi.
Anthistemi. Anthistemi. Now, the reality is, I have right here written down anthistemi, broken down so that I know how to pronounce it. The problem is I would stop looking at the word anthistemi, how I had it broken down, and I would end up saying it incorrectly, anthistemi. But you know what? Whether I said it correctly or incorrectly, that's not the point. Is it? It isn't. And guess what? I'm making that the point when it shouldn't be the point. And guess what you've done at times during listening to a Christian podcast or a sermon? You'll make something the point that even isn't actually the point. You sometimes will miss the actual spiritual truth that was handed to you in a sermon because you focused on something that you didn't like. Like you didn't like the way the pastor said it, or he yelled too much, or he mispronounced. You'll make these secondary issues, and we make those secondary issues such a big deal because they keep us from dealing with the spiritual truth that was presented. And I made me such the issue because I didn't want to look foolish, so that I'm missing the very spiritual truths that I just taught you. But if I'm teaching truth to you that I'm not teaching myself, then I'm wasting your time and my time. And so there we have it. All right. That was a very interesting devotional time. I'll be interested to get the feedback on this one. newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. Everyone have a great day. I'm going to go get some food. God bless.